Hello, welcome to Think and Grow Rich Daily Hangout. Sorry, I hadn't seen that we'd gone live. I hope that you're well. My name's Sandy Devek. This is a daily hangout, Monday to Friday, designed to help you unplug from the scarcity consciousness matrix that's all around us and the kind of lack thinking where there's not enough. It's really difficult, that it's extremely impossible to eke out any kind of success, which I believe is just actually really an illusion that keeps a lot of people from really creating the things they'd like to create. So we read from the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which was the accumulation of 500 interviews with the world's most successful entrepreneurs about 100 or so years ago, the result of 25 years' work by Napoleon Hill. And if you're watching this, we have quite a few of you watching in lots of different places, it looks like, then you're very welcome to come onto the Hangout to read the book. I don't usually host this on my own. It's the summer holidays still, so a lot of people are still traveling. But you're welcome to come on. Just click on the link on the Facebook group. And basically what we're doing now, we're reading about the 6 steps to riches, I think. Yeah, which is, oh no, we've done that. We read about the imagination. That was the last chapter. And in the imagination, we were reading about how you have a creative and a synthetic imagination. Synthetic is when you think with your mind. Creative is when you're connected to the universe, to the ether, to infinite intelligence, and you download ideas. Sorry, there's lots of dogs barking around me. I hope that you can still hear. And we talked about leadership as well, and what it takes to become a leader, and really being also willing to be a follower, because to be a good leader, you need to have followed as well to sort of know what's involved, to know what makes an effective leader. So today we're reading about organized planning, and which sounds really boring. Well, we're actually reading about leadership still. So this whole chapter is actually, it's called Organized Planning, the Crystallization of Desire into Action. So that might sound a little bit boring, planning, but it's actually a really, you can't, if you think about it, if you want to go on holiday somewhere, let's say you want to go visit the pyramids of Egypt, in Cairo. I've been there, they're amazing. You wouldn't just kind of leave your house and hope that you found some directions to Cairo. You would obviously research how to fly there if you didn't live in Egypt. You'd research you'd buy a plane ticket. You'd probably figure out how to get to the airport. You'd have a passport. You'd figure out where you're going to stay. You'd make sure you'd have money to go on this trip. You'd do some planning, because otherwise it just wouldn't happen. And it's the same with whatever you wish to create. We have to become aware of what's required, and this chapter is an amazing way to get good at that, to really develop that skill. So the 10 major causes of failure in leadership is where we're at. I'm just going to share my screen here so that you guys can see. Oh, we have the Q&A button working again. Google must have put it back. Okay. So you can leave any comments or feedback in the Q&A section. Here's a screen share. Let's do it. Okay. The 10 major causes of failure in leadership. We come now to the major faults of leaders who fail, because it is just as essential to know what not to do as it is to know what to do. 1. An inability to organize details. Efficient leadership calls for ability to organize and to master details. No genuine leader is ever too busy to do anything which may be required of him in his capacity as leader. When a person, whether he is a leader or a follower, admits he is too busy to change his plans or to give attention to any emergency, he admits his inefficiency. The successful leader must be the master of all details connected with his position, with their position. That means, of course, that they must acquire the habit of relegating details to capable lieutenants. 2. An unwillingness to render humble service. Truly great leaders are willing, when occasion demands, to perform any sort of labor which they would ask another to perform. The greatest among you shall be the servant of all, is a truth which all able leaders observe and respect. 3. Expectation of pay for what they know instead of what they do with that which they know. The world does not pay people for that which they know. It pays them for what they do or induce others to do. 4. Fear of competition from followers. The leader who fears that one of his followers may take his position is practically sure to realize that fear sooner or later. The able leader trains understudies to whom they may delegate at will any details of their position. Only in this way may a leader multiply themselves and prepare themselves to be at many places, and to give attention to many things at one time. It is an eternal truth that people receive more pay for their ability to get others to perform than they could possibly earn by their own efforts. An efficient leader may, through their knowledge of the job and the magnetism of their personality, greatly increase the efficiency of others and induce them to render more service and better service than they could render without their aid. Lack of imagination, number 5. Without imagination, the leader is incapable of meeting emergencies and of creating plans by which to guide their followers efficiently. 6. Selfishness. The leader who claims all the honor for the work of their followers. Chico, excuse me 1 second. Chico, la, 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 Chico, no, no, la, Chico, la. Sorry about that. My dog was growling because someone's in the house. Don't ever be. Okay. Okay, so selfishness. The leader who claims all the honor for the work of their followers is sure to be met by resentment. The really great leader claims none of the honors. They are contented to see the honors, when there are any, go to their followers, because they know that most people will work harder for commendation and recognition than they will for money alone. 7. Intemperance. Followers do not respect an intemperate leader. Moreover, intemperance in any of its various forms destroys the endurance and the vitality of all who indulge in it. 8. Disloyalty. Perhaps this should have come at the head of the list. The leader who is not loyal to their trust and to their associates, those above him and those below him, cannot long maintain their leadership. Disloyalty marks one as being less than the dust of the earth, and brings down on one's head the contempt they deserve. Lack of loyalty is one of the major causes of failure in every walk of life. Number 9. Emphasis of the authority of leadership. The efficient leader leads by encouraging, and not by trying to instill fear in the hearts of their followers. The leader who tries to impress their followers with their authority comes within the category of leadership through force. If a leader is a real leader, they will have no need to advertise that fact, except by their conduct, their sympathy, understanding, fairness, and a demonstration that they know the job. 10. Emphasis of title. The competent leader requires no title to give them the respect of their followers. The person who makes too much over their title generally has little else to emphasize. The doors to the office of the real leader are open to all who wish to enter, and their working quarters are free from formality or ostentation. These are amongst the more common of the causes of failure in leadership. Any one of these faults is sufficient to induce failure. Study the list carefully if you aspire to leadership, and make sure you are free of these faults. Some fertile fields in which new leadership will be required. Before leaving this chapter, your attention is called to a few of the fertile fields in which there has been a decline of leadership, and in which the new type of leader may find an abundance of opportunity. First, in the field of politics, there is a most insistent demand for new leaders, a demand which indicates nothing less than an emergency. The majority of politicians have seemingly become high-grade, legalized racketeers. They have increased taxes and debauched the machinery of industry and business until the people can no longer stand the burden. Second, the banking business is undergoing a reform. The leaders in this field have almost entirely lost the confidence of the public. Already the bankers have sensed the need of reform, and they have begun it. Third, industry calls for new leaders. The old type of leaders fought and moved in terms of dividends instead of thinking and moving in terms of human equations. The future leader in industry, to endure, must regard themselves as a quasi-public official whose duty it is to manage their trust in such a way that it will work hardship on no individual or group of individuals. Exploitation of working people is a thing of the past. Let the person who aspires to leadership in the field of business, industry, and labor remember this. Fourth, the religious leader of the future will be forced to give more attention to the temporal needs of their followers in the solution of their economic and personal problems of the present, and less attention to the dead past and yet unborn future. Fifth, in the professions of law, medicine, and education, a new brand of leadership and to some extent new leaders will become a necessity. This is especially true in the field of education. The leader in that field must, in the future, Find ways and means of teaching people how to apply the knowledge they receive in school. They must deal with more practice and less with theory. 6. New leaders will be required in the field of journalism. Newspapers of the future, to be conducted successfully, must be divorced from special privilege and be relieved from the subsidy of advertising. They must cease to be organs of propaganda for the interests which patronize their advertising columns. The type of newspaper which publishes scandal and lewd pictures will eventually go the way of all forces which debauch the human mind. These are but a few of the fields in which opportunities for new leaders and a new branch of leadership are now available. The world is undergoing a rapid change. This means that the media through which changes in human habits are promoted must be adapted to the changes. The media here described are the ones which, more than any others, determine the trend of civilization. When and how to apply for a position. The information described here is the net result of many years of experience during which thousands of men and women were helped to market their services effectively. It can therefore be relied upon as sound and practical. Media through which services may be marketed. Experience has proved that the following media offers the most direct and effective methods of bringing the buyer and seller of personal services together. Number 1. Employment bureaus. Care must be taken to select only reputable bureaus, the management of which can show adequate records of achievement of satisfactory results. There are comparatively few such bureaus. 2. Advertising in newspapers, trade journals, magazines, and radio. Classified advertising may usually be relied upon to produce satisfactory results in the case of those who apply for clerical or ordinary salaried positions. Display advertising is more desirable in the case of those who seek executive connections. The copy to appear in the section of the paper which is most apt to come to the attention of the class of employer being sought. The copy should be prepared by an expert who understands how to inject sufficient selling qualities to produce replies. 3. Personal letters of application, directed to particular firms or individuals most apt to need such services as are being offered. Letters should be neatly typed, always, and signed by hand. With the letter should be sent a complete brief or outline of the applicant's qualifications. Both the letter of application and the brief of experience of qualifications should be prepared by an expert. See instructions as to information to be supplied. Number 4. Application through personal acquaintances. When possible, the applicant should endeavour to approach prospective employers through some mutual acquaintance. This method of approach is particularly advantageous in the case of those who seek executive connections and who do not wish to appear to be peddling themselves. Number 5. Application in person. In some instances, it may be more effective if the applicant offers personally their services to prospective employers, in which event a complete written statement of qualifications for the position should be presented, for the reason that prospective employers often wish to discuss with associates one's record. Information to be supplied in the written brief. And remember that you can transfer this to modern day equivalents. You might not be writing a covering letter, well, you probably would be, but you can think about how to do this on the internet, for example. So this brief should be prepared as carefully as a lawyer would prepare the brief of a case to be tried in court. Unless the applicant is experienced in the preparation of such briefs, an expert should be consulted and their services enlisted for this purpose. Successful merchants employ men and women who understand the art and psychology of advertising to present the merits of their merchandise. One who has personal services for sale should do the same. The following information should appear in the brief. Number 1. Education. State briefly but definitely what schooling you have had and in what subjects you specialize in school, giving the reasons for that specialization. 2. Experience. If you have had experience in connection with positions similar to the one you seek, describe it fully, state names and addresses of former employers. Be sure to bring out clearly any special experience you may have had which would equip you to fill the position you seek. References. Number 3. Practically every business firm desires to know all about the previous records, antecedents, etc., of prospective employees who seek positions of responsibility. Attach to your brief photostatic copies of letters from former employees, teachers under whom you studied, prominent people whose judgment may be relied upon. 4. A photograph of self. Attach to your brief a recent unmounted photograph of yourself. Number 5. Apply for a specific position. Avoid application for a position without describing exactly what particular position you seek. Never apply for just a position. That indicates you lack specialized qualifications. Number 6, state your qualifications for the particular position for which you apply. Give full details as to the reason you believe you are qualified for the particular position you seek. This is the application. It will determine more than anything else what consideration you receive. 7, offer to go to work on probation. In the majority of instances, if you are determined to have the position for which you apply, it will be most effective if you offer to work for a week or a month or for a sufficient length of time to enable your prospective employer to judge your value without pay. This may appear to be a radical suggestion, but experience has proved that it seldom fails to win at least a trial. If you are sure of your qualifications, a trial is all you need. Incidentally, such an offer indicates that you have confidence in your ability to fill the position you seek. It is most convincing. If your offer is accepted and you make good, more than likely you will be paid for your probation period. Make clear the fact that your offer is based upon A, your confidence in your ability to fill the position, and B, your confidence in your prospective employer's decision to employ you after trial. C, your determination to have the position you seek. Number 8, knowledge of your prospective employer's business. Before applying for a position, do sufficient research in connection with the business to familiarize yourself thoroughly with that business and indicate in your brief the knowledge you have acquired in this field. This will be impressive as it will indicate that you have imagination and a real interest in the position you seek. Remember, it is not the lawyer who knows the most law, but the one who best prepares his case who wins. If your case is properly prepared and presented, your victory will have been more than half won at the outset. Do not be afraid. Okay, I'll just read to the end of this page. Do not be afraid of making your brief too long. Employers are just as much interested in purchasing the services of well-qualified applicants as you are in securing employment. In fact, the success of the most successful employers is due in the main to their ability to seek well-qualified lieutenants. They want all the information available. Remember another thing. Neatness in the preparation of your brief will indicate that you are a painstaking person. I have helped to prepare briefs for clients which were so striking and out of the ordinary that they resulted in the employment of the applicant without a personal interview. When your brief has been completed, have it neatly bound by an experienced binder and lettered by an artist or a printer similar to the following. And we'll read that tomorrow because that's going to be a good place to stop for now. So, hi again. So you might be thinking, well, I don't want to apply for a job. To be honest, that crossed my mind. I definitely don't want to apply for, a job really. But there's all kinds of things that you can take away from this chapter that will be useful to you, whatever you're doing. And the first thing that came to my mind is that if you look at it, there's a lot of thoroughness that's gone into what he's talking about. It's not just responding to a call for a job with a CV and a quick cover letter. There's a lot of thought and a lot of thoughtfulness that he's suggesting here to have, which really starts to mark you apart from the vast majority of people who would do what's required. Here he's saying, do above and beyond what's required, because people will notice that, and they will, they say like the way that you do one thing is the way you do everything, and that might not always be true, but it certainly does reveal quite a lot. If you send in a sloppy, half-done CV where you've just kind of you're doing a mass thing, you're sending out the same thing to everyone, and this is a great lesson for any kind of endeavor. If you're just doing like a one-size-fits-all, people will sense that. People will on the other hand sense when you go above and beyond. And actually, there's a really great example from earlier in the book from Napoleon Hill himself and his son. You might remember from chapter 2, I think, the chapter on faith, the chapter where he talks about how his son was born without any ears. He could not hear. Literally had no holes and no hair, no ears in his head. And doctors told him that his son would be a deaf mute for his whole life. But Napoleon, that's another story really, but Napoleon didn't accept that and talked to his son with the expectation that he would eventually hear one day, and that's exactly what happened. But the part I wanted to share with you that's relevant to this, that will inspire you, was his son actually, when he was like a young man, a hearing device was invented that when he bought it, it actually enabled him to hear for the first time in his life. And he was so ecstatic about this, and it changed his life so much that he decided that he wanted to work for the company that made the hearing device so that he could help them get the device to millions of people, because he had experienced such a transformation. And what he did was he wrote out a marketing plan for the next 2 years for this company, because he had all kinds of ideas about how they could use him, for example, as a real life example of how the hearing aid works. And I don't know exactly what the marketing plan involved, but it was very thorough. He spent a month working on it, and he then sent it to the company, and they offered him a job immediately, you know. So this is actually based on real life experience. Maybe you don't want to be working for someone, maybe you're an entrepreneur. A lot of entrepreneurs read Think and Grow Rich, but what you can do is look at, okay, well, how can I take the principles he's describing here, organized planning, and apply it to my business? Where could I have more plans in place that are going to help my business really, become like that holiday I mentioned at the beginning, to go from being an idea in the ether to actually becoming a physical reality. If you're doing the written statement exercise where you read your written statement every day, at the end of that, Napoleon says to say, I am awaiting a plan. Oh, sorry, the picture jumped. So, he says, I am awaiting a plan by which to accumulate that money, and when this plan is received, I shall implement that plan, or something to that effect. And I love that, because what he's basically suggesting is that some kind of inspiration or hunch or idea will come to you when you have a burning desire to do something. And a burning desire is the first step towards riches. It's in chapter 1 of this book. And so when you have that burning desire and you start to build the faith that you're going to make it happen by doing the third step, which is auto-suggestion, fourth step, sorry, you start to, it's like you're walking around with a piece of paper on your head that says, this is where I'm going and this is what I'm doing. And infinite intelligence will contribute to you, or the universe or God, everyone calls it different things. But there is some kind of force out there, that we're part of. It's not like it's not like a mysterious thing that we don't have to do anything. We have to do it too, because we're part of it. You have to meet the universe halfway. But what I've experienced is that when you are aware of that going on, you have a burning desire for something, like burning desire, you absolutely have to have something happen. You won't accept any other outcome, like a dog with a bone. If you've ever tried to, actually I would never try to get a bone out of a dog's mouth, because they become extremely aggressive, usually. But if you try to get a stick out of a dog's mouth, they won't let go of it. They'll literally like jump into the air, even if you're holding it up, because they don't want to let go, and they'll have a lot of fun with that. And if you become like that with whatever it is you want to do, and you just know that you're not going to stop until it happens, you're not going to give up, you're not going to just kind of flail out and sort of feel like you can't do it, you're going to do it, and that only can come from you, but it can come, I've experienced building that from probably a place where I had almost zero self-esteem left, and really a lot of hopelessness. You can build that out of nothing, and when you do, you become like this vessel for crazy ideas to come to you that will help you move to where you want to go, that will help you have plans come to you. So it's not, this chapter, I think it's important to remember, you don't have to work out all the plans yourself. It's obviously important to do that as well, but it's important to realize that you will, when you start to become really on mission, where you're just like, this is what I'm doing, that's where I'm going, and you'll just receive funny ideas, plans. You'll hear someone talk about something, and you'll know that's what you've got to do, and just like follow your gut instinct. It will really help with this, and be willing to do a little bit more than the average person. The average person. One of my friends made me laugh once. She said, it's not actually difficult to do that because the average person doesn't really do much, which, you know, you may or may not agree with, but I do see what she means, that it's sometimes a lot of people just kind of do what's bare minimum to get by. You know, when you start becoming a person that just goes a little bit further, you know, there's a really beautiful book called The Go-Giver, which is a great example of this, by Bob Berg. You actually just start to be a bit different, you know, because you're willing to do a bit more than other people. People will notice that, and karma really does work, you know. I remember working as a campaigner in London for women's rights, and I had this burning desire to just go all out for the campaign I was in charge of, and I worked day and night, you know, like all the time, and I just loved it. I was so into it, and we changed the law within 2.5 years. And when I left, because of ill health, you know, I did kind of burn myself to the ground. I've learned since then to actually also take care of my health and my body at the same time, but that's another story. But anyway, just the point being that when I left, they said, you know, one of the reasons we were able to do this is because of the huge amount of work that you put in, the reports you created, all the things you came up with, the calling up 200 people, you know, around the country on several occasions, you know, it paid off. So when you're willing to sort of just go a bit above and beyond, it will come back to you, and it will come back to you in ways you cannot even imagine. That's the beautiful thing I find about this, is that it's like it will come back to you and take your breath away. It really will. What's possible, you know, when we changed British law and just created so much momentum, it was just an amazing thing to experience, and that's possible with anything that you're doing. So I hope this has helped you in some way or inspired you in some way. If it has, please comment in the Facebook group or on the Google events. We're back here tomorrow at the same time. If you'd like to come and read, you're very welcome to. It'd be lovely to have some new faces on, because some of our regulars have dropped off due to the summer holidays. So go out there. Remember that you can start to plan your reality. You know, it doesn't mean that you plan it all out, it becomes a boring thing. It just means you have like a sense of direction that can change, but you know, you have a clear sense of where you're going, and when required, you'll make plans to actually help you move there. Just as you would if you wanted to travel to the pyramids of Egypt, you would never just start walking out of your house and hope that you got there or you found a sign there. You know, you would do some planning. It's the same thing with whatever your dream is. So I know you can make it happen. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow, and have a brilliant day. Goodbye, everyone. See you tomorrow.